Pittsburgh Steelers ended the 1978 season dreaming of a return to the Super Bowl. But beneath their calm exterior, this was a team troubled by one major concern. Even in their Super Bowl years, Pittsburgh's success had been largely two-dimensional. A punishing defense that intimidated opponents into submission, and a ball-controlled ground game that usually scored enough points to win. But Chuck Noll knew that to return to the top, his team would need a third and decisive dimension. And so the 78 Steelers went to the air, and they were unstoppable. They powered their way to another divisional title. And then, on January 21st, they returned to the Super Bowl and won. This is the story of the decade's finest football team in its finest hour. The focal point of Pittsburgh's return to glory was quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Always on the periphery of greatness, in 1978, Terry Bradshaw was football's most prolific passer. Bradshaw's 1978 performance silenced all the critics. He led the American Conference in passing, and he abandoned the reckless style of his youth, running the ball only when there was a safe place for a splashdown. A more mature Bradshaw now steps aside for another look downfield, and his soft pass underneath to Randy Grossman is the perfect complement to the legendary Bradshaw bullet. It was a new-look Steeler offense in '78, one that led the entire NFL in touchdown passes. And nobody was more grateful than veteran fullback Franco Harris. For 6 years, Harris was the heart and soul of Pittsburgh's attack, and he had the yardage to prove it.
Franco Harris is kind of a unique back. For a big man, he's 6'3", about 235, 240 pounds, and he's awfully quick. 10 or 15 carries, he may have 25 or 30 yards, and then boom. But he's a big play man. He makes a lot of big plays.
He's never really fit the classic fullback mold, for his style has always been too calculating. Some people call it avoiding contact. Franco calls it picking his hole. In 1978, the light-stepping fullback emerged from the tangle for his 6,000-yard season and became the 5th leading rusher of all time. While Franco provides the finesse, Mr. Mike provides the muscle. Mike Webster is the all-pro center on a line that includes Sam Davis, Ted Peterson, and Jerry Mullins, Ray Penny, Larry Brown, and John Cole. They're pro football's most effective trap-blocking unit. And when Steeler guards open a hole, runners such as Sidney Thornton make the most of it. Even before the football is handed off, Pittsburgh's trap man has eyeballed his target, and the result is often a clear path to 6 points and a show of gratitude to the men with the muscle. And finally, there are the pass catchers, a pair of matching bookends without equal. First, there's Lynn Swann, whose career has been a crash course in survival. But Swann is never intimidated. Last year, he braved the middle for a career-high 61 catches. And as always, he did it with impeccable style. Swann's soft-spoken colleague doesn't have Lynn's flamboyant reputation, but John Stallworth's talent is every bit as spectacular. His hands are surpassed only by his uncanny ability to pick his way through a broken field, for no wide receiver in the game does it better. In 1978, John Stallworth and Lynn Swann were the hitmen of pro football's most explosive strike force, an offense that could beat you in so many ways.
Here is Bradshaw giving the ball to Blyer. Blyer reverses it to Swann. He gives it back to Bradshaw. Bradshaw fired for Cunningham. A Pittsburgh touchdown. How about that? A Pittsburgh touchdown to win the ball game.
The Pittsburgh Steelers won their first 7 games and looked awesome in doing so. Through 7 weeks, the Steelers scored more points than any team in football. It was no wonder their leader was optimistic.
They just don't believe they're going to lose, and they have a great desire to go back to the Super Bowl. Very hungry bunch of football players, and when you get great talented men and assemble them together that have a goal in mind that they want to be the world champions again, I don't know what's going to stop them.
In Week 8, Monday Night Football came to Three Rivers, and so did a rookie sensation named Earl Campbell. Campbell tunneled his way through the steel curtain for 3 short yardage touchdowns and performed like a champion. The Steelers, meanwhile, played like a team in a trance. Pittsburgh lost their first, and the after effects lingered. In Week 9, Kansas City scored 24 points, but made one fatal mistake. It resulted in Donnie Shell's first pro touchdown and a narrow 3-point Steeler win. The following week, Rocky Blyer caught his first ever regular season touchdown pass, but it came with less than 2 minutes to play as Pittsburgh struggled from behind to beat the Saints. Then in Week 11, the faltering Steelers crumbled in the LA Coliseum. A crucial rematch with Houston was only 3 weeks away. There was no need to panic. Nonetheless, it was time to get back to the basics. He looks like Count Dracula in cleats, and nobody's approach to football is more basic than that of all-pro middle linebacker Jack Lambert. Getting back to the basics means turning Lambert loose to play his game and breathe fire into those around him. It also means adding some muscle to the pass rush, sending not only the front four, but linebackers and secondary people as well in a punishing array of blitzes. Through the final 5 weeks of the season, the Steel Curtain was once again invincible. There simply was no way through L.C. Greenwood, Steve Furness, Joe Green, John Banaszak, and Dwight White. No way around Robin Cole, Lauren Tays, Dennis Winston, and All-Pro Jack Ham. And no way over Mel Blount and Ron Johnson, Donnie Shell, Tony Dungy, and Mike Wagner. In the Astrodome in Week 14, the Steel Curtain dug in for a rematch with Earl Campbell and the Oilers. Only this time, the Steelers were playing basic defense. Pittsburgh hammered Earl Campbell into submission, and the NFL's Rookie of the Year spent most of his afternoon on the Oilers sideline, nursing sore ribs and watching Pittsburgh clinch the Central Division title. Bradshaw to Stallworth produced the game's only 6-pointer, but it was enough to ensure Chuck Noll's team of its 7th straight playoff appearance, an American Football Conference record. And so, as playoff weather settled over Three Rivers Stadium, the Steelers readied themselves for the Super Bowl chase. This was the deepest Steeler team ever. The air game had quality reserves in Kruchek and Stout, and receivers Jim Smith and Theo Bell. Chasing down Jarilla and Colquitt's kicks were such names as Corson, Delaplane, Anderson, Beasley, Moser, Dunn, and Ola. On the kick return side, rookies Randy Rudisham and number 30, Larry Anderson, gave Pittsburgh a season of outstanding field position, as well as the NFL's second highest kickoff return average. There were new faces on defense too, but the same old results. The 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers scored more points and won more games than any team in Steeler history. And as the regular season drew to a close, they were playing near-perfect football. Terry Bradshaw's Super Bowl prophecy was looking better and better, and the time was drawing near to make it a reality. Coming up, the NFL playoffs. During the week, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania makes the nation steel. But on Sunday, they become the Steeler Nation.
Go out and get them Steelers.
So the Steelers go in with plenty of offense and lots of defense, and it takes us back to those 74 and 75 teams. Plus, which the Steelers have that terrible towel going for them. Yep, this year we've had a revival of the terrible towel. And this carried the Steelers all the way in 75. It imputes great strength to the Steelers and, if need be, poses mysterious difficulties for the enemy. You'll see thousands upon thousands of terrible towels waving out in those stands today. The terrible towel is poised to strike. So are the Steelers.
In the opening round of the playoffs, the Denver Broncos couldn't stop Pittsburgh's dynamic duo. John Stallworth dazzled the Broncos with a playoff record 10 receptions. Lynn Swann caught only 2, but one of those will go down as one of the great catches in playoff history. The Steeler Nation had win number 1. They were halfway to Super Bowl 13. But the second leg of the journey would depend on the defense. The NFL's leading rusher became beef in the stew. The NFL's best protected quarterback was treated rudely, then left to ponder his predicament in a Pittsburgh puddle. The mighty steel curtain did not allow a touchdown. While Houston took a bath, Pittsburgh took the early lead as both Harris and Blyer hydroplaned a first period score. Then, late in the first half, a close game became a laugher as loyal Steeler fans were treated to a scoring blitz.
Bradshaw back to throw. He wants to go deep. Hangs it high toward the end zone. One is open. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Looking for the end zone. He fires it down the middle. Stallworth has it. Touchdown, Steelers.
Hey, we got the best offense, the best defense, the best QB, the best running back, the best everything, best coaching staff, best front office, and we got the terrible time. Terrible time. What more do we need? Hey, third grade.
The Pittsburgh Steelers were going to the Super Bowl. January 21st, 1979. Super Bowl 13. On Pittsburgh's first offensive possession, Terry Bradshaw revealed his game plan to the Dallas Doomsday defense.
Bradshaw hesitates and then throws deep for Stallworth in the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh! Johnny Stallworth caught it between 2 Dallas Cowboys, and the Steelers are on the board first. How about that?
John Stallworth caught only 3 passes in the game, but 2 went for touchdowns. And his 75-yard sprint through traffic tied a Super Bowl record. But the defending Super Bowl champion Cowboys were quick to steal away Pittsburgh's momentum. Minor setbacks, however, did not alter the Steelers' master plan.
Bradshaw, 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 Bradshaw.
Bradshaw hangs it up high. Blyer has a leaping catch in the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh took a 7-point lead into period 3, but Dallas risked life and limb to get back into the game.
He's back to throw, wide open. End zone, dropped it. He went to Jackie Smith, and down on the turf, he lost it.
Dallas wasted its best opportunity. They settled for a field goal, and Pittsburgh took a 4-point lead into the final period, where 3 plays would decide the outcome.
Terry Bradshaw giving the ball to Franco through the middle, then over the 15 to 10 to 5. Touchdown Pittsburgh. They opened it up down the middle. He knocked them loose in every direction, and the Steelers go on the board with a TD. There's Jarrell scrimming the kick down short inside the 25, picked up at the 24. Fumble! Ball loose! Still fighting for it at the 21. It is the Steelers football. No, it's Dallas's football. Who has got the football?
The Pittsburgh Steelers had the football. And now Terry Bradshaw would throw it to a world championship. The Dallas Cowboys played their hearts out, but they were a single team against an entire nation. The mighty Pittsburgh Steelers. In the last 5 years, they have won an unprecedented 3 Super Bowl titles. Pass the word, pro football. The king is back.